Well, the National Judicial Council (NJC) has recommended Justice Kudirat Kekereekun to President Bola Tinubu for appointment as the Chief Justice of Nigeria (CJN), following the upcoming the retirement of Justice Olukayode Ariwoola on August 22nd, 2024. If approved, Justice Kekereekun will become the second female CJN, succeeding Justice Mukhtar Aloma, I beg your pardon. Additionally, the NJC at its 106th meeting on August 14th and 15th, presided over by the outgoing CJN, recommended 28 candidates for state court judgeships and one candidate for Cadi of the FCT Sharia Court of Appeal, while specific recommendations include 6 judges for Kwara State High Court, 8 for Rivers State High Court, 6 for Ondo State High Court, and 4 for Benue State High Court, along with 2 candidates for the Benue State Customary Court of Appeal, and then 1 for Kaduna State High Court. All candidates will be sworn in after approval by the President and their respective state governors. Well, we have with us in the studio Barrister Darlington Agumwa and also Olufemi Lawson, who is Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability, CPA. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to the conversation.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. Barrister,
yes.
I will throw this one to you. It's, some Nigerians are a little bit concerned at this recommendation. Some Nigerians are perceiving this as nepotistic, seeing that the outgoing CJN came from one part of the country, and the incoming, the possibly incoming CJN is also from the same part of the country. Do you feel the same way? Is that something that we should be worried about?
Yeah, Moses, thank you for that question. You know, in the legal profession, there is a seniority both in the bench and the bar. It is a very important factor. There is hierarchy even in our courts and in the individuals that are practicing the court.
So according to that, is she the next in line?
Yeah, that is, in fact, that is where I'm going. You remember when Odele was to take over after, was it not, I've forgotten the name now, but for reasons best known to the NJC, it was given to Tanko, Dr. Tanko, who left in infamy, in ignominy, because of what, in fact, his colleagues had to write a petition against him. And he had to leave even before his term expired. So, what I'm saying in essence is that whenever we begin to play this nepotism in our institutions, in places where we should uphold justice and fairness, the ripple effects will go down to affect the polity in several ways.
First, according to your knowledge, is she the next in line?
This is where I'm going. You know, in
I would like you to get there because
in getting there, the question we should be asking ourselves, even if you are the next in line and your record is tainted, is it not enough to say no? You know the baggages that woman is carrying, to the extent that a U.S.
Well, before we talk about the baggages that she's carrying, or the baggage that she's carrying,
it's very important because that
before we come to it, the conversation, it can still be, extended. So before we come to that, I wanted to know if, is there anything wrong if she's next in line, regardless of whatever you might perceive or what some Nigerians might perceive as things that she might have done or a baggage? Shouldn't whoever is next in line be given a chance?
If you look at it very well,
if she's next in line.
Yes, that's what we are trying to find out here. Okay. Maybe in the days to come, we'll find out whether she's actually the next in line. Because the politicians we know in Nigeria, they can do anything for their own selfish interests. So we don't know for now until we begin to dig at the records.
All right.
So
Because I'm saying it based on what happened to Odele.
Now, from that which you just said now, Barrister, I would like to bring you in now, Mr. Olufemi Lawson. Barrister was of the opinion that if they have hierarchies and they also respect, these hierarchies, I'm talking about the time and, all that. Bringing it back to what he mentioned when he talked about Odele, Mary Odele becoming the CJN, but it was given to Tanko. Do you share this line of thought that this appointment of CJN now is a way to compensate, people who have actually worked in favor of some individuals in Nigeria?
No, I don't want to totally agree. For me, I've followed this profession, the judiciary, and I think it is a thing of convention and common knowledge that there is order of hierarchy in the appointment of judges. In actual fact, if you are sworn into the Supreme Court today as a judge, and somebody is sworn in tomorrow, in the order of hierarchy, despite the fact that you are coming almost 24 hours after the seniority, that is established. And if you look at the order of seniority in the Supreme Court today, it's just a coincidence that a Southwesterner is leaving and another person from the same region is taking over. In actual fact, Justice Kekereekun is next in order of seniority to the outgoing CJN. So it's established. Now, the essence of not just summarily appointing them is why the NJC have to ratify such appointment. So if there are issues about the qualification of the person or some other issues that may have to do with the integrity of the person, it is not left for the NJC to accept the nomination or reject. We've seen instances where NJC have rejected appointment of judges from the State High Court, in the past, just like the NJC also see into the appointment of judges.
And you think that's not being politically,
so it's
debated?
in fact, on a number of times, even CPA as an organization have petitioned the NJC because of the decision of some state government, state governors to bring people who are not, in the order of seniority to come and be state chief judges. For instance, in Bauchi, in Kebbi, we took the Bauchi state government to court. We took the Kebbi state government to court because what happened in Kebbi was that a woman was next in line. But because being a woman, being a Christian, they brought somebody from behind to come and be the state chief judge. And we took this to the NJC. And the NJC at that point suspended the elevation of that person to the state chief judge. So it happens in a number of times because of the political influence of people. But in the case of Justice Kekereekun, she's next in hierarchy to...
Okay, Mr. Lawson, I like the fact that you are also talking about seniority, just like Barrister Agommo did. But I'm kind of... is there some kind of predetermination, because these appointments are made, from the bench, from judges, from different states, Like the outgoing CJN is from the West. Kekereekun is from the West.
Yes.
So I want to know, is there a kind of, and you also mentioned the political play, the political influences that gets into this appointment. Is there some kind of predetermination that somebody can say, okay, in the next 10 years or in the next 15 years, let us prop up somebody so that by 15 years, when this other person is leaving, he or she will be the appropriate person to stay in this position and probably serve some interests for us. No, does that happen?
No, it could happen, but it's not usually in the open. And you understand that before getting to this stage of being a justice of the Supreme Court, you must have come through the state to the court of
That's exactly what
High Court.
Is it possible for somebody to stay somewhere and say, let me manipulate this system so that in the next 15 years...
It may not be easy because judges are brought... Judges are brought from all over the state, to become appeal court judges.
Like we have a governor now, we have a minister whose wife is an appeal court
We have had
judge.
governors in the past whose wives were in the court.
I'm asking, is it possible for somebody to say, probably in the next 15 years, in the next 12 years?
It may be difficult because nobody actually knows who will be here next year. So, it may be difficult. Very difficult.
Looking at the way the whole CJN, the seat and the appointment is being structured, and you just made mention of the hierarchy, wouldn't it be better or possible for that to be, more like elections, just like we have the NBA that gave birth, that have now their president to be is Osisigwe or Asigwe, or can't they actually follow the line of other civil service commission offices whereby as you're growing in your own levels, there'll be examinations to determine who actually will be the person that will be there? Why do we have to trail the line of appointment for us to have a CJN? Why not election or go for, credible, let's say, examination or something like that? Why go for appointment?
It may not be so because ab initio, that is not the way it was structured. Except they will now go to the National Assembly and make a law. But then the politicians that you and I know will not agree because it will not serve their interests. I want to give you two examples. The man who was heading Abuja division, I've discussed this man's name the other time. He was taken to ICJ when there was vacancy and there was a slot for Nigeria. The man was taken there to represent Nigerian interests. Out of the 3 tests they set for him, he failed all of them. Embarrassingly.
That's an international court of justice.
Yes, he failed all of them. And then they had to ship him back with the 9 other positions that were supposed to be occupied by Nigerians. All of them came back. Are you telling me that we don't have Nigerian lawyers or judges who would have made a better candidate in that exam? This was where Taslim Elias made his mark. This was where Bola Ajibola made his mark. But look at what sentiment have done to us over there. We have to come back. Now look at an IGP is supposed to retire next month. Somebody took a bill to extend his tenure by another 4 years. Has he not altered the hierarchy in the police now? That means people who are even juniors to him will retire before him, will still be in service.
So are we seeing the words of David Cameron playing where he said that Nigerians are fantastically...
He did not even say that. He said that, he added something. He said that if the amount of money that is stolen from Nigeria were to be taken away from UK, that UK would have collapsed.
All right. Now,
so what I'm saying is that based on what you just said, these things are altered from the beginning. They think ahead. All these things have been.
Yeah, that's what my colleague was.
That is it. So when you are talking of hierarchy, that's in position. They have already been positioned.
Thank you very much.
This same woman passed the judgment in Imo State that is causing problems.
Barrister, we're going to get to that.
All right then. So let me. Okay. Now let me come to something my colleague mentioned. He talked about interest, and we've seen politicians strategically put those related to them in certain positions. And some of these things we overlook. Now, I'm not going to take anything away from the hard work that these individuals have done, how they have gotten themselves to where they've gotten to with hard work. But we can't shy away from 2023 incidents of Bulkachiwa, Senator Bulkachiwa, who talked about how he was able to influence his wife in judgments and also assisted his friends in the Senate. We can't sweep that under the rug. And we can't also hide away from the current CJN, Ariwola, who just swore in his daughter as the FCT, as a judge of the FCT High Court. And we also have some politicians who have relatives of theirs occupying certain positions. Now, speak to how this will affect policies, governance in Nigeria if those that are related to serving officials have relatives of theirs occupying sensitive positions. Shouldn't there be a law prohibiting people that are serving officials of government from having relatives of theirs occupy certain, offices?
I was going to take it, my response up from where you just concluded now, because that was going to be my thought. You see, this is not just about the judiciary. it's just unfortunate that we are discussing this at the end point because it didn't start from the Supreme Court. These are issues, as we speak, daughters of former judges have been sworn in. Justice, so the lead daughters are now judges, despite their very short year of practices,
despite their short years of practice.
Yes, these are influence that politicians bring into the system. And it is not just peculiar to the judiciary. Today, people bring their children to come and be directors in CBN. People are bringing their children to replace themselves in the ministries where they are retiring. So it's a national problem. And because there are no laws, just like you said, that actually scrutinizes people who you are bringing. Because when you look at the qualification of some of this, just like Barry said, a lot of them got into position basically because of nepotism, and they become embarrassment to the system eventually because they cannot actually deliver as expected. Today, the senators can boastfully say that they have pushed their children into this. One of the senators the other day was boasting about how he has been able to put his child in the CBN. Here in this country, we had where policemen who are retiring had their children already killed up behind them.
Are we not setting ourselves up for disaster?
Well, it's these are, of course, eligible Nigerians. They have right to work anywhere. But the process of recruitment must be well interrogated, especially when it has to do with the fact that people are virtually replacing themselves while still alive into this system. That is the need why we must demand more transparency. If your child is qualified to replace you on that seat, being based on merit, fantastic. It's a Nigerian, is qualified. But not because he has to sit there because of your influence, because he has to jump some of the exams that others have to go through rigorously, but because it's your child, he has found himself, coming to replace you automatically. So it's a major issue that has not only affected the judiciary, but virtually every key sectors in the country.
You know what we're looking at? Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, Fina. Thank you, Mr. Lawson. I'd like us to walk around this thing, because Barrister Agomodi says something about interests. Yeah. You said the same thing too. And he also made mention of a recent change of the law to ensure that a particular person, the IGP in particular, remains in office till 2027. Now, we see this woman, Kekere Ekun, from the Southwest. I'm sorry about that, but that is what it is. Also, being elevated to the position of the CJN, even when the last one is also coming from the Southwest. That's not a problem to me. But my concerns are around, Barrister Agomo, should we be looking at 2027?
I mean, is it not obvious? When the CJN is from Southwest, the IGP is from Southwest, the man contesting is from Southwest.
No, but
you can being
from that the CJN is from Southwest, is it a problem? I'm looking at the government having to change the retirement age, and changing the law to put him, to let him remain there in 2027.
Exactly. It's a very serious aberration.
So 2027 is already at play.
It's a done deal. It's a done deal. That is it.
Well.
Because somebody should have challenged this thing. It's wrong. It's morally wrong. In the first place, it is going to cause a lot of acrimony in the police force. They will not be happy.
But I don't think that bill has scaled through yet.
No, it will not. It said it has not scaled through.
It's still in the process. So
No. It's already.
It has not been effected.
No. Leave that thing. It's already there. If
the amendment to the Police Act
is already there. As long as the Tinubu have taken this bill to the National Assembly and they have approved, it's already done. Are you telling me now that they will throw it away with Agbabio there?
Well, it's possible the House of Representatives.
So you're of the opinion that whatever the president presents to the Assembly,
that is what Agbabio told. Yes, Agbabio. Yes, he said that's the way to cooperate with the executive. That's his own idea of cooperating with the executive. Remember when Agbabio was to be made the Senate president, it's not as if he was the person who was not the person in line. When it comes to the seniority in that Senate, it was not Agbabio. But Tinubu said that.
The conversation is not about Agbabio.
Moses. Tinubu said that for a long time, no Niger Delta person has become Senate president. That was his argument.
Well, let me now bring it to. Let me come back to
the hierarchy was thrown away. It's about how long we have.
Lawson. There is a concern. Speaking to antecedents now, where this justice is there is something hanging around her, the Hope Uzodinma ruling, all right, where a number 3 person was
Number 4.
Number 4 was elevated to be
number
the
1.
governor and then tagged the Supreme Court governor of Imo State. And that had a concomitant effect whereby she and some others that were to attend a seminar in the US were denied visas when their aids were granted. That was an embarrassing situation for Nigeria. Should Nigerians be concerned that this individual with this antecedent is occupying this sensitive position? Should we now relax and go by the words of Daniel Bwala that President Tinubu is going to rule for the next 8 years and nobody can do anything about it? He just said that, actually.
Daniel is just, I don't know, I don't know how to describe people like Daniel. If President Tinubu will remain as president of Nigeria
for the next
4 years or 8 years, will be determined by Nigerians.
Are we sure now?
Yeah, it will be determined by Nigerians. And you see, we may not have gotten to where we want, but the truth is that we have made progress. Nobody in this country, 5 years, some 10 years ago, or even 6 years ago, can tell me that Labour Party was going to come into an election in Nigeria in 2023, win governorship seats, win National Assembly seats in numbers, win state assembly seats, and almost took the presidency from 2 major political parties that have governed Nigeria since 1999. So the only thing that is permanent is change. We cannot even predict what will happen between now and the next election. That is the power of change. So for me, I don't usually want to believe that somebody will just finish taking coffee or some excess of this thing and start predicting the next 8 years. I'm not giving to that. But about the integrity of the incoming CJN, for me, that sector, that arm of government is too crucial to be left in the hand of anybody that is found wanting. But I have known the woman since she was in the State High Court here. And if you go do a thorough search, you also have that she has to accredit a lot of landmark rulings while she was in the
Give us
High
one
Court.
or two.
You know, a lot of convictions she was involved in a number of convictions I've read about her that are landmark, including corruption cases where people were sent to jail. So, but that nonetheless, we cannot overlook any issue that has to do with integrity. If there are questions that must be answered, especially by justice of the Supreme Court, I think the NJC, and that is why this process has to go through the NJC. Nigerians raise petitions, even as it is, Nigerians can still raise petitions if it has to do with the integrity of a person that is nominated, not just to the Supreme Court, even to any court.
Mr. Lawson, you are of the opinion that it shouldn't be based on hierarchy now, but on merits and integrity, as well as to look at
yes, not only on, I'm not opposed to the hierarchy. It's a convention, not in Nigeria. Okay. Even in the United States, the order of hierarchy is respected. But not minding, despite the hierarchy, rather, as a convention, we cannot sacrifice the most important qualification, which is integrity. For somebody to sit in judgment.
Barrister, please.
Especially in a court that is defined.
Respond to that as well.
Yes, it's very important. Hierarchy is not the...
Respond to the integrity aspect of it.
That's what I'm saying
it's
here.
It's a major concern right now.
Yes, it is, because you are dealing with human lives here. Your decision can make or mar a country, an entire country, the destiny of a country. So your integrity comes first. You must be qualified both in your hierarchy and in your character.
But Barrister now,
so if one
Mr. Lawson just pointed to something that regardless of the fact that there is a ruling there's a ruling that she was involved in that brought embarrassment to the country, there are other rulings that that she sat over, and one would say thumbs up to judgments that were given at those points. Should we put them side by side to determine if this person is credible enough to occupy?
There are major decisions you take as a judge that will stand you out. This other minor one, maybe when you are in the State High Court, Appeal Court, and all that, it may not really hold water until you get to the Supreme Court. This is where the final decisions are made, and this is where your integrity comes to test. Whatever you have done below, It's not really important until you get to the Supreme Court where your integrity and your character will be tested. If you fail there, then why are you moving forward again?
Okay, Barrister Darlington, let me come to you on this. What do you think will be the international community's perception about Nigeria when they know that the person who gets eventually elevated to the position of Nigeria's CJN was denied United States of America's visa because she delivered a judgment that even American government perceived as unjust, as injustice? What do you think? What is it going to help our image how will it help our image?
My brother, the image has been battered long ago. Let me give you one example, or even two. When James Ibori was accused of or alleged to have embezzled money, and EFCC was after him, they were chasing him bumper to bumper. Until the man now decided that, okay, he did the unthinkable in the history of our legal system. This man brought a division in Delta, built a church, a court, equipped it, and appointed his own judges. In fact, he decided who will come and preside over his own case. At the end of the day, out of the 173 charges against him, all of them were thrown out, discharged. Until Farida Waziri became EFCC chairman and took up the matter and chased him into Dubai. And from Dubai, he ended up in London. At the end of the day, my brother, Ibori was jailed in London. In fact, he pleaded guilty. For the same count, they exonerated him in Nigeria, in Nigerian court.
Okay,
so
I get that. We outsourced our judiciary.
In fact, that is the...
And we have done that several times.
In fact, that is how to describe it.
Okay, Mr. Lawson,
if a Kuremadu were to be in Nigeria, he would not be in jail.
Let's talk about the NJC. Let's talk about the NJC that approves all these appointments. You know that the NJC is headed by who? The Chief Justice. And CJN appoints members of the NJC. What does that portend? Is the NJC an independent? Is it really independent if the CJN has to appoint almost all the members of the NJC and the NJC makes recommendations to the president for appointments, including the appointment of the CJN? What do you think we should Nigeria leave the NJC in that mood, considering that it's under the influence of one man?
Well, it's a part of the functional system we run. You know, it's like every system regulates itself without proper auditing. You know, if you look at even the president appoint his own Federal Executive Council member, you know, take decision among themselves. The president being the omnipotent at that level, you know, becomes the all in all. Whatever he wants is what the Federal Executive Council does. That is also cannot be taken away from the fact that the CJN sits in chair in the NJC, mostly made up of people who are from the same system. It is a tradition that has existed. It's the product of one of the issues that we have with our constitution. You know, institutions like the judiciary, like our electoral commission, are supposed to be so organized in such a way that there must be external auditing of their activities. And how do you do that? Are you thinking about bringing people from the media to civil society, you know, even faith-based organizations into be getting involved in how such, you know, commissions or bodies regulate itself? But just like, you know, the same profession, the same system sitting in justice, you know, for itself. So it's what the law has done to us, it's what the Constitution has done to us, and I don't think our opinion alone can change it except with demand for the necessary, you know, amendment into our laws. Today, the National Assembly sits, appropriates budget, and appropriates for itself.
It's becoming worrisome now, you know, just the way you're bringing it up now, because when we look at the people or the members of the panel that decided that verdict on Hope Uzodima's case in Imo State, we have also there's a lawyer there who happens to be Justice now, okay, Wale Nguta, who also have been there since 2011 as a Supreme Court judge. And he have some issues with him indicting him over corruption, and to the point that the Department of State Services also had to pick him. But he was actually discharged and acquitted, and he still happens to be a Supreme Court judge. Now, my question to you, Barrister, is as a lawyer, Judiciary have ever been the hope of the common man. But the way we're looking at it now on the table of Nigeria, the CJN and all that, do we really still see judiciary to be the hope of the common man?
In fact, I am very, very much afraid, though, from the way things are looking now. It's like politicians are now the last hope of the common man. Because they are the one now who have the knife and the yam. They cut you according to their own whims and caprices. It's no longer the judiciary. Because what we are seeing is not what we envisage. It's not what the people like Justice Oputa, Kayode Esho, Taslim Elias and all of them, that was not the judiciary they left behind.
How do we get this so wrong? Because we could recall that in
It is
1960s, in the 60s, you have Nigerian lawyers going to represent other countries. But here now, what's happening?
It's because of corruption. Politicians have destroyed everything we hold so dear to us. All the fabric of our society, politicians have bastardized it every way we look at it.
So what's the way forward now?
The way forward is for you and I now to rise up because...
How do you do that?
By talking, by holding them accountable.
But talking alone would solve the problem.
No, they are not comfortable when you are pointing out their issues. So they are not comfortable at all. Look at this bad government protest. Do you think the people in Abuja were happy?
That went beyond talking.
That's
what Moses is asking. Beyond talking, what should we do?
No, it is this talking now that will motivate people to say, okay, so this is what is going on.
Well, let's put it out there. We're not calling for uprising.
We need to generate this discussion.
We're asking what other ways, aside from just talking about it in our studios, on the newspaper stands, what other ways? You are a barrister. Tell us, what are the ways according to the law?
It is, hold on. Look, you see, in the human rights community where I belong, we have taken people to court, government officials. These are part of it. Unfortunately, the firebrand we used to have, Gani Fahimi, is no longer around. He's the one who would have taken up all this matter. I'm telling you. So if we can now, maybe from what is going on, is because necessity is the mother of invention. If this thing continues like this, maybe somebody will rise up and say, okay, let me step into the shoes of Gani Fahimi and begin to take up this matter to court. Begin to embarrass government officials.
Barrister, talking about going to court, we also know that Serap took Buhari to court several times, more than 100 times.
Exactly.
And got judgment. Exactly. But those judgments were never executed.
At all.
So where does that leave us?
No, you see, don't be deterred by the response of government in any issue.
Or the
it is there in the consciousness of the people. It may come up any day. Yes, it may come up and it will work against you. Like some people now, the crime they committed so many years ago, they did not touch them during this last election. Didn't the record come up? So whether you like it or not, your image has been dented. You may use power and money to cover it, but in the consciousness of the people, you are not worth anything. The greatest judge in the whole world is your conscience. If your conscience have judged you, no matter how you try to pamper it, you will never be happy with yourself. Because one day you leave office and somebody will remind you of your record.
Barrister, I'm kind of worried that we are discussing this thing about conscience, judging you and all of that. Politicians, their consciences are judging them. But the people are hungry because of their actions. So where does, I'm trying to relate how Mr. Lawson, your conscience is judging you because you took my singlet away from me and I'm sweating. And your conscience is judging you. I don't know that your conscience is judging you.
Don't be worried. Don't be worried that the man is not responding to your pleas and all that. It is building up somewhere. This bad guy, it didn't start with Tinubu now. It is something that started with Buhari.
So you're of the opinion that we need to resort to faith and hope at this point in time for people who are over 200 million, talking about a nation like Nigeria.
No. Your liberty depends on your eternal vigilance. Because if you don't fight for your right, nobody will give it to you. Nobody, even in the Western world, they fought for whatever they're enjoying today. We need to galvanize, motivate people.
So the ball is in the court of Nigeria.
Because the power, you don't know the power you have as a Nigerian. You are the owner of this power they are taking from.
Well, we can see.
It is because the level of awareness and
lawmakers tinkering with certain laws that might prevent Nigerians from putting out their voices or protesting. They are tinkering with this
politicians
idea.
will always do that.
They will always do that.
But it is left for us as Nigerians, just like Barrister said, to continue to put the pressure. Let me give you an instance. Only a few days ago, a bill was sponsored, to criminalize people who refuse to stand up when reciting.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's by the Speaker of the
I'm sure
House of
you
Reps.
know the resistance that followed the introduction of that bill online and in the news and
Everywhere.
everywhere. And just about 2 days ago, the man was forced to
withdraw
withdraw
it.
the bill.
Exactly.
If we have not spoken, if Nigerians have not spoken, I'm telling you, they will do that in 48 hours. It took
Exactly.
them only 48 hours to bring a 1970-something national anthem back to us, and we are all reciting it today. So I think it's important that we realize the power that we have as Nigerians. A lot of policies of government, even as whatever impression we have about this government or the successive one today, I know there are a number of times that our voices alone, even on social media, have changed a lot of
things. Yeah,
policies
yeah,
that
yeah.
government would have embarked upon.
Exactly.
So we must consolidate on that to the extent that we cannot achieve the desired change, not only in the area of policies, but including issues that have far-reaching impact on us, like including our elections.
All right.
It will get to a point that it will become very difficult for anybody to think you can still steal the people's mandate or manipulate the outcome of the election.
Exactly.
INEC will now become, so fearful of Nigerians to the extent that it will always work to reflect the aspiration of the people.
Well,
so it's a journey.
we pray for
it's a
that
journey.
Nigeria.
It's a journey, and I hope we'll get there someday.
I hope we get there too. We pray for that Nigeria. Oh, well, it's a good place to anchor this conversation as we segue into another conversation. But this one, we'll be talking about the seizure of presidential jets and how embarrassing that is for the nation. This one involves Zhongshan Fucheng. It's a Chinese company and members of staff of that company as well, and the Ogun State government. Well, we'll talk about this one when we come back. Some Nigerians have also come out to lend their voice to this, calling it an embarrassment. Peter Obi, one Nigerian who has said this is an embarrassing situation for Nigeria. Well, let's talk about this conversation when we come back.